Can you speak to Larry Vann, please?
Hold on. Hello?
Hey, Larry.
Hey.
Hi, this is Jake. How you doing, man?
Great, Jake. How are you?
Oh, man. Good to hear your voice, brother, man.
Great to hear yours, too, dude.
You ready to rock and roll?
Huh?
Are you ready to rock and roll?
I'm ready to rock and roll, man.
All right, baby. I'm going to start it up.
Let's let it roll.
Folks, welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show. The drums pound away in a rhythm that leaves no time for self-reflection. The self-reflection comes after one realizes their mortality and the strength to carry on, converge, and meet like-minded spirits who believe in faith. A faith that education will make a comeback, specifically the understanding of what life is really all about. Life is the truth. Except sometimes the truth gets buried amidst the ego, which in many cases is supersized due to a rigged political system, corporate greed, and privatization, conformity. It's important to get out front philosophically because these are dangerous principles if you intend to have vibrant indigenous cultures where cats knew where they came from and could play about it. Let's take it from bar 72 because you memorized the first 2 pages. The drums wash along the sacred beach of mortality destined to life in rhythmic cultures like modern-day Denmark or Paris, but not here in the States. Not here because there's a repression of culture, because the culture is no longer on the street. It is muzzled away in robotic musical consoles, pumping beats using electronics to replace the hands of Mongo Santa Maria or Ray Barretto or Larry Vann. Who continues to persevere through it all, trying to promote the beautiful culture of the 21st century, be it through his clinics, gigs, lectures, and festivals. My guest takes playing in his room by himself as seriously as he takes playing in Ghana or Nigeria or Wisconsin. Larry Vann, welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Jake, thank you for having me, man. What an honor to be on your show.
Larry, can I ask you a little bit about growing up, the neighborhood you grew up in, and the culture that was out in the street that you were seeing every day? What that culture looked like?
Wow, well, I grew up in Oakland, man, in East Oakland, and it was a great community, and music was everywhere, and so there was just did an interview earlier on cable radio, and we were talking about this very thing as far as missing, the kids today missing what we had, the opportunity that we had back in the day. We had music in the schools, and we had plenty of instruments, and we had the opportunity to get on the instrument early. I got started playing music in the 4th grade in elementary school. My desire for it happened in the 3rd grade, and by the time I got to the 4th grade, I was able to get into take drums at school. So the Oakland school, the education department in Oakland, really helped me develop into this career that I've had. So, and that's missing today in a lot of schools.
Well, what about just like in the streets of Oakland, the kinds of drum? Was there just a lot of musical activity around in the neighborhood? That's more what I'm talking about. It's like the street education element is missing. That's what's missing.
Yeah, it was happening, man. There was clubs all over the place. I used to sneak in the back of clubs, man. They would have the back door open. The screen door would be open. You know, there would be a screen door and then the door. But I used to be in the back alleys, man, listening to Ed Kelly and Smiley Winters and them cats, man.
Yo, what about because I love Oakland is one of my favorite cities to chronicle from this time period, and I want to ask you about. Did you ever get to see Gaylord Birch play?
Oh yeah, me and Gaylord came up together.
Oh, you got it because I'm upset. Gaylord Birch is to me you and him, like I love that. What I wasn't alive during that time, man. But I just want you to paint that, because there was love, there was community,
and there was music
community
all over the place,
yeah.
man. And you heard it everywhere in the streets. It was pounding out of the record stores. It was everywhere. It was at wherever I could get it, I got it, man. Like I said, I used to sneak into Al's House of Smiles and listen to Eugene Blacknell. He let me play the last song of the night, and I'd wait all night just to play that last song. And it was just amazing, man. The recreation centers were happening, man. That's where the whole thing started, in the recreation centers, man. Because the early bands I played in, we played at the sock hops and the recreation dances. So we had that outlet to cut our teeth. And then we moved up to playing the NAACP talent shows. It was a big talent show in Oakland every year, and everybody all over the Bay Area would want to perform, and it was like the who's who of the up and coming. So you had that going on, and then, like I say, you had the clubs. That was the focal point of what we were reaching for, and we were hearing like the Ballards and Eugene Blacknell and Marvin Holmes and the Uptights, where Gaylord cut his teeth on those early records. So it was just an amazing time in the Bay Area.
When you say you grew up, like, would you woodshed with Gaylord, like in high school and stuff?
We did. No, because I didn't meet Gaylord until he started with Marvin Holmes and the Uptights.
Yeah.
And at that time, he had been in the service. And see, Gaylord grew up in San Francisco. And, he came over to this side and got hooked up with Marvin Holmes, I think, after he came out of the service. So he had been in the service. He was in the Army band. And so
he was swinging. And were you in the service as well?
No.
Right. So
I was able to get around the Vietnam War, but they called me up.
You got the heck out of it. No, good for you, brother.
Well, you know what was happening, man? Jake, I was at the beginning of my first Chitlin Circuit tour with the Whispers. We had left the Bay Area, and we were in San Diego. And we had left San Diego, starting on the tour, and we were in Phoenix, Arizona. And then the agent that was booking them, their manager, brought us back to Riverside, California, where we totaled a van coming into Riverside, California, like 12 o'clock in the morning, and turned over the van. The van turned over twice with all of us in it, with a trailer on the back. Thank God nobody got killed. But we got back to Riverside, and we get a call, me and the bass player, from our parents saying that they called us up. We had to fly back to Oakland to go down to the recruiting station. So that's a story in itself. But I was there all day, and me and the bass player were saying, man, we got to get out of here, man.
Yeah.
And we had heard that they would take you that night. If you go down to the recruiting station, you had to take physical, had to take the written test, and had to go through all these different stations. And I had got a letter from my doctor, and telling him of my allergies, and I had asthma, So every station I went to, they would say, okay, hold on to that, take that to the last station, don't show that till you get to the last station. So we're down here all day long. We get to the station, last station, and this blue-eyed, long-haired guy looked at my letter. And I'm looking down at him. And he looked up at me. And he looked back at the letter. And he looked up at me again. And he looked down at the letter. He closed the letter up, put it back in the envelope, and very calmly and very coolly he looked up at me and said, room, and all these cats, the room is packed. Cats are sitting around on the floor.
Hmm.
So I sit down. All this time now, me and the bass player, he's at a different location. Our plan is we're getting on a plane to go back to San Diego tonight to gig. They're hoping that we're coming back. And I was out with the Whispers.
Wow.
So
was the Whispers like a soul band?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was an R&B band.
Yeah, the R&B band, the Whispers, And the Whispers are a singing group, and we were their band.
You were the back. So wait, hold on a second.
We were the backup band for the Whispers.
Did they cut albums with you guys as the rhythm section?
Yes.
Which albums?
No, I didn't work with them back. I didn't do any recording with them until I got into the 70s. I played with the Whispers 3 different times.
That is so badass. Okay, that's awesome, man.
Through the 60s, then through the 60s and into the 70s, man, and into the 80s.
Yeah, this is so unbelievable. No, because dude, I talked to Garibaldi as well, David Garibaldi, and he.
Oh man, I have this long story with that. After the Whispers, after my second time with the Whispers, I started.
When did you? Where was that? Where were because we're bouncing all over the place. I don't want you to have to give a justification for the bottom line is that I want to know the Larry Vann pocket of music from starting in 65 with the
Larry Vann pocket. The development of that pocket was coming through Oakland. Oakland was like me going to Berkeley School of Music.
Right, but it was a city. Yeah.
Excuse me.
It was a city though. It was urban learning. It was just
the Urban Learning Center.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Urban Learning Center without walls.
Right.
So, from Eugene Blacknell to Johnny Hodgman, these cats trained me to Jimmy McCracklin, and playing with these guys and being a youngster, and those cats, I'm playing with older cats who are raising their families, so they wasn't jiving with me, and I had to learn things, and I had to learn things quick, because they were yelling at me. Boy, get over there, play the hi-hat. Now play the cymbal. Get off the cymbal, play the hi-hat.
Mm-hmm.
Give me more bass drum. Give me that backbeat. That was the school I went through. It wasn't no joke. So that's where the Larry Vann pocket comes from. I owe all those cats.
Wow.
Jimmy McCracklin, Marvin Holmes, Eddie Foster, the Whispers, Jay Payton. The list goes on. Those are the cats that taught me. Plus Frank Samuels, these great drummers that came out of Oakland that you hear nothing about.
Yeah, dude, it is my mission to. Because that there was this. Obviously, it's just gone. I've been going full throttle covering regional music before full interconnection, and one of the regional music scenes, obviously one of the top ones, was that Bay Area. You had the Freeform Radio. Sly Stone was a DJ. You had psych rock groups playing with jazz groups, and it was it was just there was a lot of freedom. I want to ask you, Larry, compare that to today in black neighborhoods. Where's the culture in the streets today? Is there any culture in the streets?
Well, there's always a culture,
mm-hmm.
but the terrain has changed because it's about the beatbox. It's about downloading beats and stuff like that. Where before it was like the raw, playing the drums and playing the guitar and playing the bass and playing the horn. It was like that was the rawness of it. That was the realness of it. Now, not that kids aren't playing the instruments, but it's a different thing now because of the rap music and because of synthesizers and playing using Pro Tools where you can You can change something and you can keep changing it over and over again until you get it right. We went in the studio and we had to nail it.
Exactly. You got the charts. You got the charts 20 minutes before, and then you had to go.
You had to go. Well, it was like we knew the song. We used to have, like to play a gig in the Bay Area or anywhere back in that time. You can see we could study. We would study the top 10 for the gig tonight. Cats would be saying, "Okay, we be in the car. Larry, listen to the drum pattern on that the Temptation song. You got it? Yeah, I got it. Okay, now look at the turnaround. Listen to the turnaround, Joe. You got it on bass?
Wow.
Marvin, listen to the changes on the guitar. It's going from G. It's going from G to B, and then back to C. But the music was on the radio, man. It was part of our learning tool.
Yeah, the music's not played by human beings anymore, and the radio, there's no more free-form radio. There's no ability to hear, an organ trio followed by a folk group, followed by there's all these the barriers that have gone up, the idiomatic barriers have stifled that creativity back, because when you were playing and gigging with Whispers or whatever else, it was I do a lot of work on terminology, and the truth is that the word jazz is, in my opinion, through my research, I have determined that word is a word. Well, it was a word that was made up for business reasons that a lot of black musicians lived off of and made decent careers. No one ever got rich, but it was it was not the appropriate word for the kind of music that black people were. The black artistic classical music, whatever you want to call it. It's a bogus term, and now it's become bastardized. And it really I was wondering about if you think back to the time when you first started to get your feet wet, and did you ever? How would you talk about music? And how would you, as far as you just talked about it as music, either good or bad, right?
Right. But you brought up a point, Jake. I wanted to jump on it.
Yeah.
And it's a gig consisted of this. The first set, we would do some jazz. We would do some Latin.
Yeah, right.
We would do some blues. And then we would segue into the R&B dance stuff. So the gig consisted of all these different genres of music. So that was like school in itself. You're touching bases with these different genres on the gig. And that's how the gigs was when I came on the scene as a young player. You had to know something, have a feel for jazz. You had to have some kind of feel for the Latin. You had to have a feel for the blues. And you had to do the R&B because, people wanted to dance.
That's right.
So you got a full range of these different genres of music every gig you were on. So now you got balance in your playing. You're developing balance in your playing where you have a feel for these different styles of music, which don't happen no more.
Did you?
And that's the other sad thing.
Well, that but did you ever play with Marvin Holmes?
Yeah.
Tell me,
I played in his band.
Because I think this is important. Because Garibaldi mentioned that band, and I think it's important to talk about. I think it's important to talk about what they were doing, because they preceded Tower of Power and Santana and all those cats. I mean, so break that down.
Marvin Holmes had a unique concept, man, and it was his concept. He had some unique horn players, and they would come together with his musical ideas, and I was able to get in his camp and be in his school. His school was one of the schools, the main schools that got me ready, the Marvin Holmes School of Funk. And there's not enough said about it, but his rhythmical style in his guitar playing. If you listen to the Dragon, or if you listen to any of that early stuff, that the Funky Mule,
Right.
and it transcended on to when I got in the band, to the Funk Factory, when we did "Find Yourself," which is a classic, one of the urban classics. What we do with that song and what he did, that concept of his playing and that band was just phenomenal, man. Not enough is said about it. That was the rich Oakland sound.
How could you describe it? Like, how would you, like, how in musical idioms, in today's idioms, how would you feel? What were you doing from a drum point of view? Because something like, for instance, as an example, you talk about, you listen to certain bands like Blood, Sweat, and Tears from the early '70s, or there were other bands, Chicago, where they were essentially playing rock time, but they were doing jazz aesthetics. Within the music. So what were you guys doing musically?
What we were doing was from a real funk rhythmical sense, man. We had a funk groove. It was the rhythmical groove from the guitar and the bass and the drums had a unique tightness about it, and rhythmical sense that was going on. That was only that was an Oakland sound. Where Marvin had the rhythmical stuff going on the guitar. Had that crunch on the guitar.
Yeah.
The bass player Anthony Davis was big round tone on the bass, and Gaylord back there on the kit, scratching on the drums, man, with that funk beat and a driving, forceful pattern that he would lay down. It would just cut. The rhythm cut.
Oh.
It was like it cut like a knife. Then you had the horns, like a Mack truck coming at you, blowing. Four Mack trucks blowing their horn at you. You know what I mean? So you got this wall of power.
Right.
That was just totally ridiculous.
And it was. Yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No. It was really before electronic music. Like, what years were you in that group?
I was in the group starting 72.
Right. So you were right. Like this. I guess you probably must have had some nice Fender Rhodes. You were in that perfect pocket in there, like that perfect, like the Fender Rhodes keyboards, the wah wah, the wah wah guitars. Everybody was experimenting. And you were just playing that funk drumming. I mean, this is? Are there did you cut albums with him at that point? Or
yes.
What album?
The first thing I cut with Marvin was a single that I just talked about a minute ago, which I think Garibaldi was talking about too, which they studied. They were coming up with during that same time with Marvin Holmes and Uptights. But the first record I cut with him was a single called "Find Yourself," Part 1 and Part 2. And what I've described to you about that Marvin Holmes funk concept is displayed in that single. I was very, very honored to play on that single, and it made history as far as funk records are concerned. It was one of the all-time classics. Underground is an underground classic. Right.
Did it ever? What was the first LP that you found your way onto?
Summer of '73.
Okay, let.
It was called Summer of '73.
Summer of '73. That was the name of the band?
No, the name of the band was Marvin Holmes and Justice. The name of the album was Marvin Holmes and Justice, Summer of '73.
Yeah, that's a rare album. I have to believe that.
Yeah.
I've never. What was the label? Do you remember the? Can you go back?
Brown Door Records.
Rounder.
Brown Door Records, which was an independent label that we developed. It was Marvin's label, and it had never been done. What we did, we made history in Oakland because nobody else had produced their own records. We had our own record label. Everybody had a job to do. not only did we have to cut the music, record the music, everybody had a job to do with promoting the record. I did consignments in the stores. So it was all self-done, this project.
Wow. And
Marvin Holmes and Justice.
so I mean, how many copies of the album you think even are circulate out there?
No, we don't know, man, because it just kind of, that's what made it such a collector's item, because it stayed on the charts, and we had some action, but the deal didn't go down. And so it just kind of faded away, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So one of those situations, I think we had Blue Thumb was interested, which was the label that...
Well, I know Blue Thumb very well. So absolutely. Sure.
Yeah,
Bob Krasnow.
They showed some interest.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Bob Krasnow and
They
Tom.
showed some interest, but it didn't... Nothing happened after that. So it just kind of died. But it became an underground collector's item. So what's happening now, a record label in Japan has re-released it this year. And so it's been re-released in Japan.
Will you see royalties for that?
Hopefully, if things continue and it takes off.
No, I'm saying like if it sells whatever, but I mean legally you would receive royalties for that.
Legally, I wouldn't or would?
No, I'm asking you. You would.
Yeah, I would.
Okay, good.
We're all involved in the publishing aspect of it too.
Right. Exactly. That's right. Right.
So this had never been done. This was something that was unique. What Marvin put together with his label. That we would all be a part of it in all the many phases, and even into the publishing phase of it.
Were you playing a lot of like Black Student Union gigs or like any Panther movement gigs back in Oakland?
You know what? I did some. I didn't do a lot of them. I did all kind of stuff, man.
I want you to tell some of the crazy stuff. I wanted some crazy stories, man.
You want some crazy stories?
Yeah, I really did. I mean, this is not.
I used to play for the East Bay Dragons, which was a motorcycle club in Oakland, who were like the Hells Angels.
Yeah,
they
sure.
were black.
Sure.
And these guys were respected because they used to fight with the Hells Angels back in the early days. But the Hells Angels and them became friends. Like I would play at East Bay Dragon dances, and some Hells Angels would come by and hang out. So it was interesting.
This is crazy. So wait, you played? Explain how that was a band itself?
Yeah, because they always, if you were popular in the area, then they would want your band to play at their events, their dances and stuff. So
what were those? Yes. So you what were? Just tell me what that scene was like. I mean, that must have been.
Oh man, it was like just hardcore black bikers, man. I remember the last time I played one of the dances, the cat was just standing there watching, and then he just fell on my drum. Bang! So we had to get him off the drums and and start the music back. But it was very wild, man. People all over the place, and they had they had several clubhouses. They were very successful. I think the East Bay Dragons still exist today. But it was a black biker.
Yeah, no, I was going to say what
started in the 50s.
And what do you did you ever work in the Fillmore district? At the 6 a.m.
Oh yes.
Because that to me, like I've done a huge amount of. I've interviewed. Let's see. I'm just trying to go through it right now. Calvin Keyes, Michael Howe, David Garibaldi, Vince, Jerry Grinelli. I mean, I Bob Jones. I mean, the amount of Bay Area cats that played down, in and around Chester Thompson. But then the Fillmore district with Richard Groove Holmes. All right, and
you bring that up because
the
only time I played Jax on Sutter.
Yeah,
Early morning dawn session. The only time I went there, I went one morning with an organ player friend of mine that I was working with in North Beach. We used to work in the topless clubs.
Beautiful.
And
Beautiful.
he said, man, let's go down to Jack's. And I had never been to Jack's. I've known about Jack's, for years coming up. And I said, okay, let's go. So we went to the early morning. They would do an early morning dance session.
I cannot believe that, man. That's so badass, dude.
Ain't that cool? So we went down, and guess who was there?
Groove Holmes.
Richard Groove Holmes.
Holy shit.
So I got a chance to sit in and play with him, man, and it was monstrous. It was amazing.
Wait, hold on. So you I want to be very clear. This was you show up after your gig. The dawn session would start at what time?
Dawn session was early. It was an early morning dawn session, so it would start like maybe like 6 in the morning.
And that was basically. And there was. When would they? There was a period of time where they would not serve alcohol, and then they start serving again at a certain point, or like what? How is that?
I think they would. I know. Coming up, they used to serve this stuff called near beer, which is like probably same as a Bud Light now, maybe, or a little weaker.
And so you walk into this, and so as the sun's rising, you're playing an early morning. And who was the clientele?
Man, it was just black clientele. It was kind of sparse at first. Because I had been up all night anyway. I'd done my gig and then came over to Jack's on Sunday to play with Richard Groove Holmes. And after that, we kicked it for a little bit, but we got on out of there, man. I was tuned in. I had accomplished my goal to play with Groove Holmes, man.
That is badass, man. That is so great. So you play topless clubs too. I think that's so much more.
Oh man.
I think that's so much more hip than just hearing like music with no space, as opposed to like I don't know, you play like organ drums, or like you have a full band there.
Well, it was like the band consisted of organ, guitar, drums. What else do we have? I think that was it, and a singer. When I first went to North Beach, like, man, that was my dream as a young musician to play North Beach, man. So I finally got my shot. This was in the early 70s. And I went over there with a band, and we played a place called the El Cid, which was right on Broadway and Columbus, right on the corner.
wait, hold on. Hold on, what was the name of it? What was the name of it called?
El Cids.
El Cid, E-L Cids. So it was like a what would you say, like a Latin joint, jazz joint? What kind of music?
No, it wasn't a Latin joint, but that's what they called it. That was the name of it.
So it was just.
But it was one of the big topless clubs.
Oh, it was a topless club. Okay, continue, please.
Okay, and it was like right on the corner of Broadway and Columbus. It was right across from Carol Doda's club. Condor.
Right.
That was her club, which was big. And, the Big Al's was over there, Roaring 20s. So I started there, man, and that was my first time playing a topless club. And, man, I couldn't settle down. It took me about a week to 2 weeks to settle down, because there'd be a topless chick to my left, a topless chick to my right.
Yeah, man.
And they'd be dancing in a little go-go thing, booths. And then the featured act was ridiculous. So we had to play behind all that, and it's like, man, I'm seeing titties and ass and everything. It took me a long time to settle down. But it was amazing, that street jump, man. It was all kind of stuff. That was a wonderful period of time, because on that street, man, you had the jazz workshop, you had Basin Street West was bringing in big acts, and you also had the El Matador, which was bringing in big jazz acts. So it was just, the street was jumping, man.
But also, like, it was like, I think one thing all these little things get overlooked, but it's like the idea, if Art Blakey or Elvin Jones or, Max Roach or anybody was coming in, They'd be there for
Yeah.
they'd be there for a week or 2 weeks, a long time.
Right, exactly.
So so the community would get to, there'd be like a development of sort of a fever, a good fever,
Exactly.
and that music fever. Yeah,
Right.
and that's nowadays it's one and done. Or like last night, I go try to check out a drummer in Brooklyn. His set's like 7 to 8 at night, and that's it. It's like, well,
Yeah.
and there's no way to, there's no momentum, where there was just this
Right.
rolling ball of, cold blood, rolling down the streets
right.
of Frisco and Oakland. It's just, I mean, there was just
That's right.
East Bay and North Bay, and it just insanity, and so I think that, I don't know. I mean, I think part of the other issue. I was talking to this drummer last night, and he was really talking about students he takes in. The long and the short of it is, you just have to, the drummers, Gene Krupa, Buddy Rich, all doesn't matter who, Elvin, the best of the best. They just they could swing the band for hours, just swing like for a long time. And it seems that the attention spans now, kids cannot hold that for that long before they feel they need to pivot out of just holding that in, just being able to swing, for a long, and the drummer said to me, he goes, my student, he told me, he goes, you always know when I'm playing, when it feels good, when it's right. He goes, but
Right.
I know a lot of times I'm not playing right, And he's like, you got
Right.
it. I mean, I don't know if that makes any sense, but it was like, it was just so, it was cool because at the end of the day, like you're saying, you're playing a cocktail party or a strip club. Like, if you're going to play a jazz tune with Groove Holmes, I mean, you just, like, you got to lay it out for 7 minutes. You got to lock it in.
That's right, man. And that was the learning period, which it doesn't happen anymore. These cats be talking about the jam sessions and man, a jam session back in the day, man, if you got the opportunity to get up there, you got up there and got in place and got ready. You didn't get up there and okay, what do you want to play?
Yeah.
It wasn't about that. It was bad. You play what the house band is going to play, and you better keep up. And I got ran off the bandstand.
Right.
I got ran off the bandstand. Now that's a learning experience in itself, because either you get run off the bandstand and say to yourself, I'm never going back there, or you got ran off the bandstand and you said to yourself, hey man, I'm going home to shed and I'm coming back and I'm kicking some behind. They're not going to run me off the bandstand no more. That's the school.
Right.
You got to go back in there and get the respect. If you don't go back, you'll never get it.
Boy,
Go back.
That's across the board in everything in life, not just music. That's
right.
That's just awesome. That I mean, you just hit home with where I'm at in my life at this point, and I think anybody
Right.
has to go back.
Right.
And because if you didn't get it before, you gotta go. The only way to go is to go back. I mean,
You gotta go back.
but yeah, and so through the early '70s into the mid '70s, when did you first meet Merle Saunders?
I met Merle. It was an interesting period. I met Merle. Let's see. Maybe around 74, 75. I knew about Merle. Merle was like one of the all-time Barry heroes. He was always on the radio. He always had material on the radio.
Really?
But I had a friend, a guitar player friend of mine.
Yeah.
He called me and said, hey, man, you ought to go over to this club over in San Francisco, man. It's called the Sand Dune. It's out on the avenue. He said, man, off 19th. You ought to go over there, man. Why don't you come over with me? Merle Saunders over there, man. You ought to go over there and play, man. So I said, okay, let's go. So we went over, and he let me sit in. And Tony was playing. He was breaking Tony in.
Sure.
He was breaking him in. Matter of fact, long story short, he put that band together to get Tony in shape. that gig. Because Tony had been living in L.A. with his mother, and he moved up here to be with his father.
Right.
So Merle put the band together because he showed the desire to want to play bass. I didn't know all that then. But
it doesn't matter. The point is, but wait. So your buddy convinced you to go down there, and then you did you ask to sit in, or did Merle approach you? How did that work?
No, it just opened up the session, and I asked, could I sit in? So he said, yeah, come on up and sit in. So I sat in, and we played one tune, played another tune, and then we kicked it. But me and Tony immediately locked.
Oh.
So unbeknownst to me, Tony tells me the story. We laugh about it now. He said, he leaned over to his father and said, Daddy, get this cat. And they asked me to play from that point on. And that's how I came into the Merle Saunders band.
Well, that's heavy stuff, man. I mean, you just
it is heavy, man, because it was like another point, another notch for me, man, because these are the cats that set the tone in the Bay Area. And for you to play up to that level, be it the Whispers, be it Marvin Hall, be it Merle Saunders, be it the Tower of Power, you conquer a hill, man. You've gotten up to a hill. That's another notch.
I dig.
That's a notch, man. Now, I'm not getting rich, but it's more than money. It's even more than money, man, because when you look back on it, man, you have to be at your playing has to be at a certain level in order to sustain or on that level.
Perseverance.
The same thing with Ryan Auger. I went through the same thing with him.
Whoa. You played with Auger?
Yeah.
Oh.
I toured with Brian.
Wow.
I recorded with Brian.
Well, my God. I wanted to stay with I really want to go back to this for a minute. So you and Tony locked in. How did Chris Hayes come into the band? I mean, we all know that he moved on, obviously, but were you playing with other cats too? Did other guitar players show?
I was playing with other cats, man. At that time, I think I was still playing with the Uptights without Marvin Holmes. Marvin Holmes had left the Uptights. So I was playing with them and just doing a lot of different playing around the Bay Area when this thing came through with Merle. So on top of that, I had gone back not too long after I got with Merle and started kind of playing with him in the Bay Area. I went back with the Whispers. So
really nice time. And playing
with the Whispers.
Dude, I would have been at every Larry Vann show that year. That would have been the most. That is the most like.
Well, I'm telling you, Jake, it was really an exciting time for me. I was really.
Why was it exciting? Why was it exciting?
Because I was feeling like I was coming to myself. I could see my development. Right. I could see my plan really developing and getting stronger. And it was showing itself because I was getting the notoriety of the players who I was playing with. I was being acknowledged. I could hang. So that was a great time for me. And then, it was a great time. And once I got settled, it was an interesting time too. It came to a peak because at one point, this is how it was. I would tour with Merle, come back to the Bay Area, and immediately go out with the Whispers. It was an amazing thing where I could keep two of those things happening at the same time.
Do you coordinate? How did you coordinate that so effortlessly? Because Merle's tours.
It just fell that way. It just happened that way. Everything was in place.
Beautiful.
But I knew at some given point, I was going to come to a point, a certain point where I didn't know what was going to occur.
That's right. That's right.
Because I knew it was going to clash.
Well, it wasn't going to keep going like that.
No, and it didn't. And what happened was I had been with the Whispers. I recorded. The turning point was Hat On album with Merle Saunders.
Let's.
Now, mind you, I'm telling you, this is a great time for me because not only am I recording with Merle, I'm in the studio now recording in L.A. with Don Cornelius and Dick Griffey because Dick Griffey is now handling the Whispers.
Holy shit! So wait, hold on. I really want. This is so insane. This is so you were doing. You were what studios were you in Southern California?
Yeah, I was down at RCA.
And then so you were doing RCA and then going up to Fantasy.
Right.
So I mean, the Leave Your Hat On album. Talk about that. Why was that a turning point? This is a peak. I mean, you're like in the studio too, man. That's unbelievable.
What happened is the Whispers were going through a transition. They had been locked into Chess Janus Records, who would not let them go. They were getting action from Philadelphia International. They would get action from a lot of different places. So they ended up going with Don Cornelius and Dick Griffey. I recorded the Leave Your Hat album on, and it had been pressed. I had done the Soul Train stuff. I was staff musician for Soul Train Records.
In 1976?
76, yeah.
Oh, wait, how many years did you do that?
Well, I was with the label for maybe a year to 2 years.
It doesn't matter. It was really where are the recordings of this stuff? This has to be the most insane stuff. Seriously. That's freaking ridiculous, man.
It is. So we did the Soul Train Game album, which was the first album, the first product off of the Soul Train label.
I want to ask you a question. I want to ask you a question about your. Continue. We're bouncing here. You go, but you try to connect some dots here for us.
Okay, so things are still not right with the camp, with the Whispers.
Right.
They're going through a transition. So I'm starting to think like we're just not working enough, and I'm working with Merle, and things are picking up on Merle's end. So here comes the crossroad. I'm in the studio, and Merle comes and he finds me. And he says, "Hey, Larry, I need you to go to New York with us." I said, "New York?" I've been out, yeah. He said, "Yeah, we're touring. I'm setting up a tour for the Leave Your Hat On album." I said, "But man, I'm hooked in with the Whispers right now. I don't know what's happening."
Right.
But inside my heart, Jake, I knew I could see the writing on the wall with the Whispers.
Right.
It was just
but I mean the money was.
They were in that transitional period. It was a transitional period for them.
Right, and at that point, as a you weren't on that, you weren't in the inner circle. You were just playing with, so it was just like you were never.
I was a backup musician.
Right.
So Merle comes down. We're talking, and he's like on me, "Larry, I need you."
I love Merle songs.
I'm in a studio somewhere. I was doing a session, and he came down. This. You got to follow me on this.
Hold on, it was not his session. You were on a different session, and he went.
It was in his session. He came down and found me.
What session was it?
I don't know if I was at his Master's Wheel, Elliot Mazur's studio. I was somewhere. I can't remember.
Okay.
But he came down to the session. So he had me in the corner. He said, "Man, Larry, you're on my album. I need you, man, to do this tour with me." So I said, "Merle, man, but I'm in the mid. I don't know what. I've been working with the Whispers and stuff, man. I need you." So he kept saying, "Man, I need you." And then he stopped. He just stopped for a minute. And he says, "Man, if you go with the Whispers, man, you know you're gonna always be known as a side man. But if you go with me, they're gonna know Larry Vann. And at the time, I'm saying, man, here we go, trying to be philosophizing and got me up in this corner.
Yeah.
But to this day, man, I'll never forget those words.
Well, I mean, look at this now,
this
man.
was a turning point. Now, a cold-blooded thing. Now, look, check this out. So I think about it, you know, and I'm at a turning point, man. I'm pulling them on both sides. Then I'm down in the studio wrapping up with, you know, I finally make the decision. Okay, man, I'm going with Merle. So now I got to tell the Whispers, who are already going through trials and tribulations. So it gets out. I let them know because it's just not working. They understood, but they wasn't happy about it.
Well, I mean, but they knew. They knew. I mean,
they knew because they, you know. But check this out. Now I'm down in L.A. in RCA. Guess who got me hemmed up in the corner, telling me not to go? Don Cornelius. Hey, Larry, I hear you. You're thinking about leaving, man. And you can't leave now, man. We're getting ready to really make this thing happen. So, you know, whatever. But anyway, so I'm sticking to my guns. I already made the choice, man. And I'm saying, I'm getting second thoughts about, man, am I doing the right thing, Lord? So I go. I leave. I go with Merle full time. A year later, Soul Train Records folds. Don Cornelius decides he doesn't even want to do it anymore. They've gone through a lot of changes with the record company, Soul Train Records. Dick still wants to be in the record business, and he developed Solar Records, which you know the story with that. That was huge success. The Whispers go on to have their biggest hits and start having hit records, big records. And I made the choice I made. And I was happy for them because I had been with those cats from the 60s all the way up to the...
Yeah, but I mean, whatever that means, like, I mean, a pop hit, I mean, I like their stuff on Janice, but I'm sure I never listened to the stuff that they made pop hits on, but I don't think anybody from your generation was ever in the music to make hits. I mean, I guess you probably were. Yeah, everybody wants to make a hit.
Yeah, well, we all want to hit.
Yeah. No, I don't mean.
But I love them, man. I fell in love with them with those Dory records back in the '60s, man. That's how I had a musical love affair with those guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love the way they made records, man. The Whispers, you know.
What was it about? So can you talk about what you mean as far as talk about that? What was it about?
You know, man, the first record I heard was from them. You know, back in the day, man, you could run records up the coast. You know, I had record men running records. You could get a regional hit like from San Diego, L.A., Oakland, San Francisco. You could run it all the way up to Seattle. And, you know, they had a black circuit that you could work on too.
Sure.
So it was really a cool time. But somebody ran the record up here to the Bay, some record guy, and threw it all. It came across Sly Stone's desk. Sly Stone played it, dug it, and started playing it with some regularity up here. And to the point it was a hit. To the point where he called the group, the Whispers, and told them, "Hey, you guys got a hit up here in the Bay. You guys need to get up here." And that's how they came up to the Bay Area. And that the first song was "As I Sit Here," which was, I have my own special relationship with that record, you know. But that's the record that I fell in love with them, you know, musically fell in love with their music, man, because I loved the harmonies. It was just like urban. It was just like, man, you know, it's like baby making music, man.
That's right.
It was off the hook. So you hear it all in in the projects and everywhere. So it was just one of those kind of tunes, man, and that's when I fell in love with them. And I would hear the song on the radio, and it would just do something to me. And I never forget being going to a house party one night, and me and my partners, and we come into the house party, and I found a spot against the wall, and I ended up being right by one of those 45 record players. And one record had ended, and I can't remember what it was, and it was just like all of a sudden it was just, quietness with no more music, but, people were communicating and talking. And all of a sudden I hear the record fall down. And it was a whisper song as I sit here. I'm sitting there, that song again. And it was just like, man, I had this love affair with them ever since, man. And not knowing that I would end up being their drummer, And they're like my big brothers, man. We don't even have enough time to talk about my adventures. You gotta realize, man, this is my first adventure on the road, my first road tour on the Chitlin circuit, which doesn't exist anymore with those cats. I met Dyke and the Blazers on that tour. I met Buddy Miles on that tour.
Mm.
We opened up for Sam and Dave.
Mm-hmm.
It was amazing. We starved in New York. We had chicks going to the store. We were starving, so we had chicks going to the store and putting steaks in their panties, man, bringing them back to us to grill. When we was in Omaha, there used to be a Safeway right across the street from the club we played called Paul B. Allen Showcase. You might remember Paul B. Allen, Buddy Miles dedicated a shuffle, like an organ grinder kind of shuffle. He called it Paul B. Allen because he lived in Omaha, Nebraska when we were there. Billy Rich lived there. Billy Rich was our bass player with the Whispers.
Billy Rich was the bass player with the Whispers?
Huh?
Billy Rich was the bass player with the Whispers when you were there?
Billy Rich played with us. We brought him to California.
Oh my God. That is insane. What years were you with the Whispers the second time?
This was 60, 68, 69.
But then you did a second round with them like in the mid-70s.
Yeah, well, no, I did a second round in the late 60s. Because when we came back to the Bay Area, the band that I was with was called Shades of Soul. We broke up. But the Whispers asked me, would I hang with them while they got things back together? And if I did, they would come back and get me, and they did. So I played with them again in the late 60s. Then after a while, I left the group. And then we hooked back up again in the mid-70s.
Was that the one and only East Coast tour you did with Merle? And if so, what was that experience like?
Was that the only one? No. Because we did some more stuff, but I didn't do it we did that particular tour, and it was amazing. It was truly amazing. Tell
me, just paint the picture. That is, I mean, that show that I put up online, from the...
Yeah, with that group.
Oh, my God.
Chris Hayes, Martin Fierro, Tony Saunders, myself.
Oh, my God.
And Merle.
Martin Fierro.
Yeah, Martin was my roommate. He was just a mess. One time, man, he was a heavy prankster, man. He used to call me the checkered demon because I got these, I don't know, I picked them up somewhere, man. These checkered red and white and black checkered underwear. It was like, tank top, and they were checkered underwear.
Sure.
So he started calling me, and he was my roommate, So hey, the checkered demon. He would call me the checkered demon. But one time I had him on, man, we were all in a room together. I think it was one of the times when we had to double up,
Sure.
And they put me out the room, man, with my underwear on. Now, it's one thing if you're on the second or third floor. But we were on the bottom level. So I'm banging on the door. I said, man, come on, open the door. This is daylight. This is daytime. Ain't nighttime. So, you know, the carport, you could pull right up to your room. So, man, here comes this car with this white family with kids.
Oh, shit.
Little kids. And I'm saying, man, open the door. And I just kept, some said, look around. And they were just in shock. Their mouths were wide open. Here's this black man standing outside in these checkered red, white, and black underwear, top and bottom. So that ain't the half of it, man. That was a wild, crazy tour, man.
Oh, man.
Just nuts. One time we were coming home from Boston, and we all got on the plane, and we were in coach. And the plane takes off. We can't find Merle. I said, Tony, where's your father? Where's Merle, man? I don't know, man. I don't know. It's Chris. You see Merle? No. 14. I don't know. Did we leave him? You know, because they would get kind of toked up, man. You know, he may have wandered off high.
Right.
And then we were worried, man. And we kept looking down the aisle. So, we're looking down the aisle this one time, and man, all of a sudden, we see Merle looking back at us, grinning, with a glass of champagne. They had bumped him up to first class, and we didn't know it.
Oh, my God.
So he's toasting us up in first class, toasting champagne. Hi, guys.
That was I wanted to ask you about, talk about, guys, what made it a community was that when you were starting out playing gigs in Oakland, there were older cats who would come back and support the younger kids. Like, I mean, you said Ed Kelly before. Did you know Ed Kelly? Like those.
Oh, yeah. I grew up with his nephew. I knew him very well. His mom and my mom worked in the church together.
Can you talk about his significance to the Oakland scene?
I'll tell you a great story.
No.
Ed's nephew is my best friend to this day. He's a doctor. He's my best friend. In our first band, Ed lived in the area we lived in, called Brookfield, off 98th Avenue. He had a house with his family on the other side of where we live. So we young musicians, man, so we said, hey, man, let's go by Ed's house. Ed's cool, and we walked in, and these little young players, man. So this guy was in there talking to him, and it was cutting it up, and I heard him saying stuff about train. And he was, very, energized. He was talking and he looked back at us, and we were just kind of hanging, just kind of standing around, because we admired Ed so much. He was he's a hero.
Right on.
So he tells his partner that's talking to him about New York and stuff, who hadn't really turned around and looked at us. He's so busy talking to Ed. There was a little moment where he stopped talking to Ed and said, yeah, man, these little young cats there, they talk about they need little young musicians. The cat turned around again. He said, hey, y'all, this is Pharoah Sanders, man.
Wow.
Because, Pharoah grew up in Oakland. Him and Ed go way back.
It was Pharoah Sanders. It's blowing my mind. It's just the reason I want to know why it's 3 nights ago I called Pharoah Saunders. Like, I'm trying to get an interview with him, and I talked to his wife, who's like, you know, a nice woman, but you know, like it's very hard to break through. And I was trying to tell her, I'm like, I'm focused on the 4 L's: leadership, love, life, and lineage. And I'm like, these interviews tend to last 30 to 45 minutes. She's like, that's an awful long time for Mr. Sanders. You know what I mean? Like, that dude expressed himself through his instrument. That is unreal. Unreal that he grew. I had no idea he grew up in Oakland.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, he grew up here, man. You know, John Handy and all them cats, man. So, rich area, man. This is a very rich area. This is a unique. Oakland has a uniqueness, man. It's not like San Francisco. Oakland has its own uniqueness. There's a certain kind of slickness about the cats that come out of this area especially during that period of time.
And so was that was so Ed Kelly though, like, I mean, he was just such a, I mean, he was a man of he played at all these, tell me the best clubs in Oakland, like the clubs that nobody ever talks about, because you hear about the great jazz clubs in San Francisco, the Jimbo's Bop City, the Both And, you know, the El Matador, you know, but, you know, tell me about some of the clubs in Oakland, because those never get a lot of pub.
The historical clubs in Oakland, the Showcase, the Sportsman Club. These clubs, you would find Lou Rawls there. You would find the Impressions there. You would find Ike and Tina Turner there. Major Lance would be there. The Impressions would be there. I'm talking about when I was coming up. These were the top black clubs. Then you had the Continental Club in West Oakland. These were the top clubs. These were the top rooms where you would get the best. I worked with Irma Franklin at the Continental Club, Peter Franklin's sister. I worked with the Impressions there. I worked with Jimmy McCracklin there at the Continental Club, historical room. I worked with Charles Brown there.
Charles Brown.
Top names.
Wow.
These were the clubs that were happening. Then you had Slim Jenkins, who was the first black club owner to be in Jack London Square. There was no black clubs in Jack London Square, let alone black people couldn't even go down there for a long time in Jack London Square. And then here, this cat, Slim Jenkins, had a big club on 7th Street for years. He was well known. He brought in T-Bone Walker and all the great acts, B.B. King. But all these were black clubs, which at that time, these clubs I'm telling you, was also part of that black chitlin circuit.
Right.
That went all over the nation. There was a circuit, a black circuit, all over the United States that black artists could work through. So during that period of time, a cat that would get hooked up in that circuit could make a real good living. And if he had, especially if he had some records out, you could work all the time, man.
What was the church? I've talked to cats that have played on various chitlin circuits, like you said, they were all over the country. Was there a church? Was there a church component to those places, or were those considered houses of ill repute because you were playing the blues? I'm just trying to figure out how the circuit even became that way.
The church had, that was a separate entity in itself.
Yeah, right.
The church was a separate thing. Not that you can go there and participate and stuff, but the church. I remember one time that you mentioned the church. One time I saw this. We were in Omaha, Nebraska, Des Moines, Iowa. Mm-hmm. This is when I was out on the chitlin circuit with the Whispers. And I never forget this black priest come into this club, and he was a regular. He was a regular, man.
It's fucking. I want to interview that guy.
Huh?
I want to interview that cat. What a hip dude, man. What a hip cat.
Yeah,
right.
Like it was like, man, I tell you, that tour was one of the greatest learning experiences for me, man. It was like, you know, it was like an adventure. It was an incredible adventure, man. I learned so much on that tour.
But getting
back to what you
yeah,
said about
well, yeah.
the
Tell
club
me how it
Oakland,
existed.
man, it was just an amazing time, man. It was like you would see all kind of great acts.
How did the circuit exist all over the country? That's what I'm trying to get. I mean, it was just.
It was the same. It was the same. See, the unfortunate thing, urban renewal jacked everything up.
Mm-hmm.
It jacked everything
How did it took out that urban element and
but when we overcame, we forgot, and it's unfortunate. So now a lot of those rooms, if they exist now, you know, other folks got it. Black folks don't own them.
You overcame and then forgot. That's a very powerful statement you just made. Wow.
That's the real deal.
Wow, man, that's heavy ass shit. That's heavy. I'll tell you, man. I see what you mean. I know. You know, you don't own that land, that property to do what you.
No,
that's right. That's right.
We.
Do you remember if, in hindsight,
we Jefferson, we moved on up and we forgot.
well, but it's hard to know.
And there's a lot of reasons behind it, but it's like it's unfortunate, man, because that was how it was.
But the cool thing is that all the music that you played, that you were brought up on with the impressions, and you know, playing with all these soul groups that were singing Marvin Gaye, all this beautiful music, is because you guys were moving on up, but you were actually doing it like in a very ethical, like way,
right.
like in a very rule.
Right.
It was following the rules. It was the right way, which is why the music sounded so pure, sounded so happy,
right.
because it was that,
exactly.
you know. And now, you know, with the increase in population, increase in just the amount of noise and digitization, you know, as a result, you're essentially getting electronic noise. It's not really music. I mean, there's still cats that are playing great music, but just the quantity of it, and also the biggest other issue I see. I've had an evolution too. It is not that. I mean, and you know this. I mean, there's a huge supply and demand issue, because these circuits used to provide opportunities for cats like yourself to get out,
right.
develop your sound, get comfortable, and make a living. And now you have all those same cats, if not more, because there's that many more people. You have more cats even now that can play, but there's no place.
Right.
There's no place to play. So it's like it's all stifled up, you know, and that stifles culture, and that leads to conformity, and that leads to what I said in my opening. It's you know, very corporate mentality. You can't just put you just can't, you know, tailor everything to a bottom line. You don't do that in the arts. I sure don't need to tell you that, but it's just, you know, that overarching concept is we miss that love concept.
Right. It's a different thing, man. It's a different thing. And you know, man, when the rap came in, man, I thought it was really innovative, and I still feel that way. And you know, when a form of music comes in, man, you know, as a musician, I try to be open to everything, because you never know when that door's gonna swing open and you'll be able to survive with it. So I don't put it down, but it's just trying to hold on to what you already had and still building. And it's kind of sad, and it's, you know, the economical thing too. You got to keep that in there too, because, you know, the economy changed, and when things get tightened up, what's the first thing that goes out the window? Music. Same thing, in schools. What's the first thing? The arts. The arts suffer. So. Well,
I just feel like it's not. To me, it's an outward expression of how people are feeling about. I mean, it's a language of its own, And if that language, it has not the innovation. You're absolutely right. I mean, I'm not a huge rap fan. I'm not trying to bag on that music. I'm just saying the messages that are coming out of that, at least the stuff that is making a lot of that is being bought by major sponsors. Those are not values that I seek or that I value, and so I don't want those to be accentuated, especially amongst the black community or the Latino community or the Chinese community. It doesn't matter. It's just I want those culture. I want their culture. I want there to be a level of sophistication and education, and that's where they pull that stuff out of the schools. But it's also like, thank God. I mean, you look at it now, and it's like, how many cats, would be amazing musicians, but they're in jail because they, because they got caught with some marijuana or something. It's like, this is bullshit. Do you feel that at all, or are you at a point where you're just like,
It's not fair. It's unfair, but I guess the main thing is I would hope that my young brothers there's always another way. For me, I was around all that. I was around whores, I was around pimps, but it started a long time ago with me, and it was that love of what I wanted to do with music. And just the will of God, man, I didn't get caught up in that stuff. I could have. It was all around me. But I thank God I didn't, because the biggest picture with me was I was so excited about being on the scene. That was like a drug to me. It was just a uniqueness, and from how I was raised. And my mother was a school teacher. My father worked hard, so.
But here's the thing: it's not that no, but you can sit here and say that it's almost impossible to get out or move up now. The avenues have closed down for musicians.
I think if you have determination, and you see what you really want to do, and try to keep your nose clean, man, 'cause it's rough. It's rough.
You're right. You're damn right about that, brother.
It's rough, dude, but man, where there's a will, there's a way, man. You can make it. If I can do it, you can do it.
I need you, Larry Vann. I need you, Larry Vann.
I'm serious, man.
That's what Merle kept saying to you, man.
You get everything you want. My first manager of the Shade the Soul band, his name was Miller, and we called him Fats. And he was a hustler, and he was a smart cat. And he sat down with us one time. He had his own way of talking to us. And we were young, man. We 19, 20, 18, 19, 20. He said, boy, you done like that. And, y'all can do anything, because he was kind of amazed with the music industry. That's why he ended up managing. And he had pimp partners and cats out there that was doing all kind of slicking. And he said, boy, you can get anything you want in this business. And he's speaking of the musical business, of the music business. And if you want girls, you can get them. If you want money, you can get that too. If you want dope, you can get that too. You can get anything you want in this business if you do it right. If you do it right. And that was the thing. If you good at what you do and you hoard in key in on your talent and be the best you can be, you can get anything you want. Now it's up to you if you want to spend your money on dope, if you want to spend your money on girls, if you want to spend your money on alcohol, that's up to you. But he put it right down where the adults can get it. You can get anything you want in this business if you do it good. If you be the best at what you do.
Well, I just
from a cat who was a hustler, man. This was his way of explaining it. He was a smart cat.
Absolutely, no. I mean, he broke it down, and he had the the credibility of he has seen it all, and the credibility there just made it just so absolutely simple. Because people most of the time will just be hemming and hawing about stuff and making excuses and making things more complicated than they have to be. But when you get somebody who's seen it all, and they just have the experience, there's just no real use in even trying to argue with it.
Right.
It's right there. Right. The truth revealed.
And he was giving us knowledge. He was giving us wisdom.
You're right,
like, man, anything you want, you can. I mean, he couldn't sing, he couldn't play an instrument, but he knew how to hustle, and he knew how to. He wanted to manage us, and he managed us the best he could.
I want to ask you. Did you ever play like just a stone jazz gig? Like, did you play with jazzers at any point?
Yeah. I played with cats that, there was nodding out. Literally nodding out on stage. It's like, wow.
Wait. Who was nodding off?
I ain't gonna say no names, but it was like, I'm saying, dang, but he come back for his part.
Wow.
Like, dang.
But like, so what? I mean, what did you have like a rhythm partner when you'd play with the jazz? Like, who were some of the like? Talk about, because those jazz gigs stand out. To me, it's like especially if one night you were playing and next thing you know, like Miles or some cat walks in from his gig. That was what was happening so much around that time. And you'd have the bigger acts coming in.
I played with Bishop Norman Williams.
That is.
I was playing with him. He was like key. He was king bebopper. He was like a Charlie Parker.
Yeah, no, I know him very well.
Yeah, opportunity to work with him too. So
yeah, that's right. He was
like the school. He was like Marvin Holmes was funk school. He was like bebop school. You had to go through him, and I had to go. He was one of the cats that ran me off the stage.
What happened there?
I said to myself, I gotta come back. Now, what happened is I played the gig, but he played one of this. He was known for Cherokee, and I can't remember if it was Cherokee, if it was a similar song, but he counted it off like and it almost like caught me off guard. So if you get caught off guard at a fast tempo like that, it's almost like trying to get through a revolving door.
Yeah, right on.
You may never be able to jump in and get inside the door.
Mm-hmm.
And I never could get back in because it was just, and he stopped the song. Drum can't keep up. We're going to take a break.
Whoa.
So,
yo, Bishop.
Okie dokie. Okay. That will never happen again, God willing.
Oh, my God.
And he never did it to me again. And I came with it. And I was on stage with Hadley Callowman, Eddie Henderson, Chris Hamburger, Waheem Young, and Bishop Norman Williams. That was the lineup.
Wow. With Hadley.
Yep.
When was the first? How was that? Did you know Hadley at all?
Yeah, we played together. We were playing at Bay Jones during that time. Bay Jones Club in San Francisco. And Bay Jones was a big supporter of the jazz. And my band was really like the band that was the primetime band. It was the Larry Vann band. And I used to, this was after Merle, by the way.
Absolutely. No, I think, I was just thinking, like, when, did the Merle thing end well? I mean, did you, when it...
Oh, yeah. You know what happened, man, it's just, what happened with Merle after the Leave Your Hat On was Merle had a real dry spell. I think he may have been going through something with Garcia at that time as far as work and, I don't know, it was a slow period.
Did Garcia ever come by the Sand Dunes to play with you?
I No, he never did come to Sand Dunes because I think, I don't know, that might have been my only time playing in Sand Dunes. Because I can't remember.
No, because you also play. I mean, I gotta figure like him and Garcia were kind of just like, you know, they were connect. They always kind of hooked each other up, you know.
Yeah, they were cool.
Yeah.
Cool. We played together. We, as you know, we recorded together on Leave Your Hat On. So he's on that.
Is Garcia on that? I didn't know that.
I think Garcia's on that. He may not be, but I thought he did something on there.
So
I know Jackie King's on there.
Well, and then because there's I'm trying to Martine's on there, and there's some interesting session cats
Chris
on.
Hayes is on there.
Exactly.
Chris is on there. Tony's on there. Myself.
So then, like when were you say in the late 70s, like you had, what were you doing in the late 70s into the early 80s? Like really right around the time that Reagan, the inauguration and the beginning of sort of the destruction of the final destruction of the urban, you know.
Yeah. I was still with Merle, and we were doing different things, man. We were, that band, the band was doing just all kinds of stuff. That punk monk band, because you know at one time we were backing Martha Reeves up. We were her band.
Get out of here! Jesus
and then, we were doing a lot of stuff. Then one by one.
Were you doing like were you like backing up Edwin Hawkins and shit? Like I mean, this is so...
no. But if Walter did some stuff.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Did some stuff on that Crystal Clear album. Do I Move You album? Walter and them. That's them doing background.
So were but that 70 Do I Move You? Were you on that album?
Yeah.
Oh my God! And then he did this. He did this other tune, San Francisco After Dark.
I don't think I'm on that one.
Right, but on the direct to disc, super whatever it was called.
I'm playing on direct to disc album.
Oh, that is so awesome.
With the chick on the cover.
Oh my!
She kind of looks Asian, like.
Yeah, I know that chick on the cover. She looks like she's wearing like a police hat or something. I don't know what. I forget the. No, and I think Pee Wee Ellis is on that session.
I don't know. I'm trying to think. Maybe he might be.
But so you were trying a whole lot of different things, and where were you gigging a lot? Were you going to the Keystone and playing a lot? Where were you playing?
Yeah, we playing Keystone a lot. Doing that a lot. That was a great time. But we also, things slowed down. And what happened? Tony went with Pee Wee and Dave Liebman band. Chris went off. He left. And then, I guess later on he ended up with Huey. Martine left, so it was just me and Merle.
Wow.
And
this is awesome.
He was like, hey man, here it is. You left the Whispers, and here it is. And this was that trying time, like where, you made the choice, and you got to be here with your brother. So it ended up being just me and Merle, and he was really going through a rough time. But we ended up starting to do different things. We even worked for a good while with who I think she's just a sweetheart, and that's Buffy St. Marie. We toured with Buffy for a good while.
Why was it a difficult? Was it just Merle had been kind of in that zone for so long? It was just so hard for him to accept the fact that things were kind of moving under his feet faster than he could adjust to it from the music point of view.
Yeah, I think just things stopped. You know what? I think one thing was the disco came in.
Oh, God.
That was during that period.
Yeah.
And it really, I was hearing it like, man, things have changed. And I'm saying to myself, nah, man, this going to be cool. But it really did change.
That's my final question in part one of this interview, because, it's just, the idea of saying, how did you deal with your drumming style when everything started to speed up? I mean, when you had the, and then in conjunction with like seriously, like pure cocaine, drugs, speeding it up even more.
Yeah.
So like there, you're like, how did you slow it down? How did you hold it down? Like after a while, like did you ever find yourself on gigs where you're like, I can't believe I'm playing this shit?
No, I didn't.
That's good.
Because a lot of the stuff, studio stuff I was doing was that kind of stuff. Even with the Soul Train, because I mean, if you listen to Soul Train '75, man, that sucker cooks.
Dude, no, I'm talking
it's almost like a disco kind of thing.
No, it's 75, 76, but like around like 78, 79, at that point when the synth came in and disco was in full throttle, but the mid 70s is still razor's edge shit.
Right.
Razor's edge.
Right.
Then it got a little Velveeta after that, and then by the 80s, it was just like, what the hell, it just became like Rodgers and Hammerstein. The originality was just stripped out of the, it's not as easy as that, but anyway, how did you hold it down or adapt to the idea of losing space in the music?
Well, man, it's just like, we were still gigging, we had gigs, and just trying to make things happen, and trying to make some sense of it, because you really, at that point, it didn't hit me yet. Later on, it hit me, and I realized, like, wow, this is really stupid.
Mm-hmm.
But, the gigs, it got hard, it got tight, but, I kept gigging. Thank God, and I didn't give up hope, So...
Well,
and there were some sessions coming through, I was getting a few scab sessions, guys doing projects and stuff, doing demo projects and stuff. It was a lot of things that were kind of hopeful, but it kept me going. It kept me up,
Well, Larry Vann, I just want to tell you, I mean,
I can feel it.
No, it was just we'll pick up on this conversation. I want to do a little bit more. We got through the 70s pretty much, but I think we got a little bit more to do. It was just so great to be able to talk to you tonight. You filled me with a lot of wisdom, man.
I got you, man. Well, I thank you for having me on your show, and thank you for thinking about me, man. That's really cool.
Dude, it's one of those trying times. You bring it back all the way around, man. Like, it's just, and you think about Merle, man. You know what he said. He said
my big brother, man.
He said
my big brother, man.
He said, you go with me, you're good for life.
Huh?
He said if when you were trying to make that decision between staying with the Whispers or going with Merle, and he's like, you stay with me. It's for life,
Yeah.
And now today, for me to call you and to be able to cover this terrain, he's looking down. He's, I'm just, if you know other cats that, unheralded cats, or even just cats in general from that Oakland area, like any older cats that deserve that shine, like I want to get to those cats,
Right on.
All right, brother.
All right, you take care, Jake. Thank you so much, man.
Talk to you soon.
All right, God bless you.
God bless you, brother. Peace.
Bye-bye.
Bye.